Before we get to today's show, I wanted to share a quick reminder that being financially organized is one of the biggest factors in building wealth. Want to be a millionaire? It's not going to happen if you're not organized with your money. So, how can you get organized? Well, our favorite app is Empower. It's free, allows you to connect your banks and brokers, and it gives you daily income and expense updates. Ready to try it out? You can sign up at thecollegeinvestor.com/empowermoney. Welcome to the College Investor Audio Show. So glad you're hanging out with us today. As we take a look at this article, Senate bill would exempt state student loans from 2007 scandal conflict rules. Okay, interesting. We'll take a look at it, but anytime you hear an article, you want to dive deeper, you want to find out more, you want to get the resources and links we talk about, it's all inside the article at thecollegeinvestor.com. You can also like and follow on social media just by typing in the words The College Investor. You'll find us. We'd love to get to know you and help you wherever you are in your money journey. Okay, let's take a look at this. So a bill is moving rather quietly through the Senate that would let colleges steer students toward state-run and nonprofit student loans without triggering the federal conflict of interest rules Congress wrote after the 2007 financial aid kickback scandal. Okay, so nearly 20 years ago, investigators found that the people students trusted most to give neutral advice, their college financial aid officers, were quietly working for the other side of the table. Financial aid officers held stock in the lenders they recommended. Yikes. Lenders paid schools a cut of the loan volume they steered. Some financial aid offices let lender employees answer their phone calls. Yowza. So because roughly 90% of families take whatever loan their school recommends, a single line on a preferred lender list was worth millions to a lender. It also cost borrowers real money, too, since the school's recommended option is not always the cheapest one. The cleanup produced settlements, resignations, congressional hearings, and eventually a permanent set of federal rules. This proposed law would change the rules back from a small slice of the private student loan market. Okay, driving the news here. Senator Lisa Murkowski introduced a bill, the State-Based Education Loan Awareness Act, earlier this year. The bill is one sentence of substance. It amends Section 151 of the Higher Education Act so that deals involving a, quote, state-based education loan program are exempt from the preferred lender arrangement rules. To qualify, a program must be run by a state agency, authority, or nonprofit lender, be non-federal, be authorized by state law, carry rates and fees at least as favorable as Direct Plus, and be offered only after the school tells the borrower to exhaust federal loans first. The main states with nonprofit state-based lenders are, just a few of them here, Alaska, Arkansas, North Carolina is also there, and Vermont. And there are other states you can take a look at too. Here's why it matters. Preferred lender arrangement status is what activates a stack of borrower protections. Under the law, schools that maintain preferred lender lists must name at least two unaffiliated private lenders, disclose why each was chosen, report annually to the education department, and tell students in writing that the school will process a loan from any lender they pick. That last piece matters more than it sounds like it does. Some schools already market loans branded with the university's own name. And the disclosure rules exist so students know they are free to shop any lender and any rate they want. Separately, another section requires any school in a preferred lender arrangement to adopt a code of conduct barring revenue sharing with lenders, gifts to aid officers, consulting fees, lender-provided call center or financial aid office staffing, and paid seats on lender advisory boards. Strip the preferred lender arrangement label off of state loan programs, and none of that matters for these organizations. Here's what happened back in 2007, just in case you're wondering. History is worth remembering. The scandal was not one bad actor, it was the entire marketplace. New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo's investigation, a parallel state inquiry led by Senator Edward Kennedy, and a House oversight hearing found the same conflicts repeating across dozens of campuses. at least 6 distinct ways. Federal aid directors were owning lender stocks. Financial aid chiefs at Columbia, USC, UT Austin held shares in Student Loan Express while listing the company as a preferred lender. UT Austin's Lawrence Burt bought 1,500 shares at $1 and sold them at $10. Columbia's David Charlo cleared about $100K on his. All three also sat on the company's advisory board. Lenders paid the officers directly. Johns Hopkins aid director Ellen Frischberg took more than $65K from Student Loan Express. Between 2002 and 2006, roughly $43,000 in consulting fees, plus about $22K the company put toward her doctoral tuition, without disclosing it while promoting the lender. Hopkins ultimately paid $1.125 million and accepted 5 years of monitoring. Capella's financial aid director took $13,000 in consulting fees, and Widener's took $80,000 for conference work. Advisory boards were vacations. Senator Kennedy's report, which Inside Higher Ed called evidence of a systemic problem, documented Citizens Bank spending roughly $43,000 on a 3-day advisory meeting in Phoenix, including more than $15,000 on food and $1,500 on spa treatments. And Chase spending nearly $18K on food and drink at a San Diego gathering. Bank of America put $5,000 into a Temple University golf tournament and $21,000 into 2 UCLA receptions. Lenders also ran all expenses paid cruises and retreats for financial aid staff. At the low end, the report cataloged golf towels, foldable wallets, and stress yo-yos shipped to aid offices by the crate. Ooh, I want one of those yo-yos. Schools took a cut of profits too, so Cuomo sued Drexel University after finding it had collected more than $124,000 from education finance partners, with another $126 pending, after naming EFP its sole preferred private loan provider. That arrangement sent EFP more than $16 million in loan volume. Sal Virginia, Pace, NYIT, Malloy, Fordham, St. John's, and Long Island University had all settled similar cases. Lenders answered the school's phones. This is ridiculous. Some financial aid hotlines routed students to lender employees who never identified their employer. Lenders also set up opportunity pool loans, which was high-rate credit extended to a school's weakest applicants as the price of preferred placement. Even the regulator was compromised. Matteo Fontana, the education department official responsible for overseeing the lenders, held more than 10,500 shares in Student Loan Express's parent company and sold them for over $100,000. He was placed on leave, and then criminal charges followed. The impact here was massive, as you can imagine. Cuomo settled with a dozen lenders, including Citibank, Sallie Mae, Nelnet, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Wachovia, and College Loan Corporation among them. Lenders and schools put $13.7 million into a national borrower education fund. 10 schools repaid students more than $3 million, and financial aid directors at several universities resigned. Congress wrote the fixes into law in 2008, which are the same rules that still shape how borrowers are told to compare offers to this very day. Every practice above is barred by the Code of Conduct that would stop applying to state loan arrangements. Let's take a look at the other side. The guardrails in the bill are thin. Nonprofit state lenders must offer student loans with better rates than Direct Plus loans. Direct Plus carries like a 9.07% rate for 26 and 27, plus the highest origination fee in the federal portfolio, so beating it is an easy test for nearly, any state program. The definition also covers nonprofits separately or jointly with a state broad enough to reach quasi-public authorities that partner with banks. Supporters counter that state authorities are not profit-seeking lenders and that compliance burdens keep schools from mentioning cheaper in-state options at all, which is a fair point, given that state nonprofit loans often beat national private lenders on rate. Routinely. The deeper issue is actually the premise here. A state seal does not by itself mean a product is built around the customer. And 529 plans are the cheapest, or clearest proof here. Every 529 is authorized by a state, yet nearly all are run day-to-day by for-profit financial firms under contract. Census alone administers 51 plans across 31 states and Washington, D.C., with more than $300 billion in assets. The cost spread that produces is, enormous. Saving for College's 529 fee study puts the cheapest available option in Florida at about $25 in 10-year costs on a $10,000 balance, and South Carolina and Louisiana at $26. The cheapest option in Hawaii runs about $920, and West Virginia's Smart 529 Select about $915, more than 30 times as much for the same account. Smart 529 West Virginia? Come on. Some states even layer their own administrative fees on top of the manager's cut, which is why the CFPB tells savers not to assume a state plan is the cheaper one. Where you open a 529 matters, precisely because the public label says nothing about the price. Student lending would work the same way. Public or nonprofit sponsorship determines who signs the contract, not whose interest the contract serves, which is the argument for keeping the code of conduct and disclosure rules intact. Supporters counter that state authorities are not profit-seeking lenders and that compliance burdens keep schools from mentioning in-state options at all, like we mentioned earlier. But given that they do the same compliance work anyway with nationwide for-profit lenders, it's really clearly not that big of a problem. As Mike Pierce, executive director and co-founder of Protect Borrowers, put in this X post, "This is just corruption." That's a direct quote from Mike. "It's the reason Americans don't trust Congress, colleges, or student lenders. The whole thing is rigged, and everyone knows it." End quote. Let's connect the dots and then wrap up for today. So, the timing is the whole story here. Graduate borrowing is now capped at $20,500 a year and $100,000 total, or $50,000 and $200,000 for designated professional programs, against a $257,500 lifetime federal ceiling. Private loan volume could nearly double as a result, since the caps shift the most profitable loans to private lenders. States are filling the gap fast. Connecticut, Minnesota, Massachusetts all expanded programs this year. But a July 2026 Century Foundation analysis found many state loans underwrite like private ones. MEFA requires a 690 FICO for graduate borrowers. Minnesota's self-grad loan wants 670 without a cosigner. Borrowers who cannot clear that score need a creditworthy cosigner, and cosigner release is harder to actually obtain than the marketing suggests. So, state loans don't really offer the repayment assistance plan either, or public service loan forgiveness for that matter, which are the two backstops federal borrowers rely on when income falls short. It's going to be important to watch whether this bill moves forward and whether anyone amends it to keep the code of conduct language. The Senate has already had an executive session to mark up the bill, which happened on July 30th, and it's also worth watching how aggressively lenders court financial aid offices in the meantime. The American Prospect reported in July that private lenders sponsored much of NASFA's 60th anniversary conference, which is exactly the kind of proximity that drew scrutiny the last time around. So whether state programs can actually replace what Grad Plus did remains an open question, and total student debt keeps on a-climbing either way. That is our show for today. A little bit longer than usual, but hopefully it was very helpful to you. If you want to dive even deeper, we have all of the links and resources for you inside this article at thecollegeinvestor.com. Type in The College Investor on social media. You'll find us pretty much everywhere you are. We'd love to help you and get to know you better. Thanks again for stopping by today, and we'll talk to you again real soon.